Graphs. In Illustrator, you can create different types of graphs and customize them to suit your needs. Click and hold the Graph tool in the Tools panel to see all different types of graphs you can create. Create graphs. Select a graph tool. The graph tool you use initially determines the type of graph Illustrator generates. For example, to create a column graph, select the Column Graph tool. However, you can easily change the type of graph later. To define the dimensions of the graph, do one of the following. Drag diagonally from the corner where you want the graph to begin to the opposite corner. Alt-drag, Windows, or Option-drag, macOS, to draw the graph from its center. Hold down Shift to constrain the graph to a square. Click where you want to create the graph. Enter a width and height for the graph, and click OK. Note, the dimensions you define are for the main body of the graph and do not encompass the graph's labels and legend. Enter data for the graph in the Graph Data window. Note, graph data must be arranged in a specific order, which varies by graph type. Click the Apply button or press the Enter key on the numeric keypad to create the graph. The Graph Data window stays open until you close it. This allows you to easily switch between editing graph data and working on the artboard. Enter graph data. You use the Graph Data window to enter the data for your graph. The Graph Data window appears automatically when you use a graph tool and stays open until you close it. A entry text box enter the data. B import data saved as a text file. C transpose row/column switch the columns and rows of data. D switch X/Y switch the X and Y axes of graphs. E cell style adjust the column width or decimal precision of cells. F revert the changes you've made in the graph data. G apply the changes you've made in the graph data. 1. Display the graph data window for an existing graph. Select the entire graph with the selection tool, and then choose Object Graph Data. 2. Enter data in any of the following ways. Select a cell in the worksheet, and enter the data in the text box at the top of the window. Press Tab to input the data and select the next cell in the same row. Press Enter or return to input the data and select the next cell in the same column. Use the arrow keys to move from cell to cell, or simply click another cell to select it. Copy data from a spreadsheet application such as Lotus 123 or Microsoft Excel. In the Graph Data window, click the cell that will be the upper left cell of the data you paste and choose Edit Paste. Create a text file using a word processing application. While entering your data, separate the data for each cell by a tab and the data for each row by a paragraph return. The data should only contain decimal points or decimal commas, otherwise, the data is not plotted. For example, enter 732,000, not 732,000. In the Graph Data window, click the cell that will be the upper left cell of the data you import. Click the Import Data button and select the text file. Note: if you accidentally enter graph data backward, that is, in rows instead of columns, or vice versa, click the Transpose button to switch the columns and rows of data. To switch the X and Y axes of scatter graphs, click the Switch X/Y button. 3. Click the Apply button or press the Enter key on the numeric keypad to regenerate the graph. Use graph labels and data sets. Labels are words or numbers that describe two things: the sets of data you want to compare, the categories across which you want to compare them. A. Dataset labels. B. Blank cell. C. Category labels. A. Dataset labels. Enter labels for the different sets of data in the top row of cells. These labels appear in the legend. B. Blank cell. To generate a legend for the graph, leave the upper left cell blank. C. Category. Enter labels for the categories in the left column of cells. Enter labels. For column, stacked column, bar, stacked bar, line, area, and radar graphs, enter labels in the worksheet as follows. If you want Illustrator to generate a legend for the graph, delete the contents of the upper left cell and leave the cell blank. Enter labels for the different sets of data in the top row of cells. These labels will appear in the legend. If you don't want Illustrator to generate a legend, don't enter dataset labels. Enter labels for the categories in the left column of cells. Categories are often units of time, such as days, months, or years. These labels appear along either the horizontal axis or vertical axis of the graph, with the exception of radar graphs, for which each label results in a separate axis. To create labels consisting only of numbers, enclose the numbers in straight quotation marks. For example, enter 2013 to use the year 2013 as a label. To create line breaks in labels, use the vertical bar key to separate lines. For example, type total of sales 2013 to produce the following graph label.